All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ConvertLabs Conversations. Here we have Luke. Luke, thanks so much for being here today. You've been on ConvertLabs for a while. Can you tell people, a little bit about your business and, where you're located and everything that's going on?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me, Kevin. My name is Luke Lovelady. I am based out of Arizona, originally from Washington State, but our business is located in Arizona. We've been at it for about, I want to say 18 months right now since we've been taking bookings. Things are going well. We're growing fast. I quit my job working in tech sales about 4 months ago or in December, so a little bit longer than that. But I'm full time on the cleaning business now. Me and my wife started it from day one. I handle majority of the work. She's still working her full time job, but that's kind of a high level summary of kind of where we're at right now.
How was it quitting your job to kind of go full time into this?
That's a great question. It was the best day of my life.
Really?
Yeah, I loved the company I was at. I loved my boss. I loved the people I worked with. And it was just this nagging feeling of just like, I need to be doing my own thing. And I've always been kind of entrepreneurial spirited, and I just never had anything clicked or really, got to a point to where it's like, okay, this is a real, business producing real income, real revenue. So I think the day I quit was by far one of the best days. I was planning it out probably a year in advance, and I was hitting milestones. I was like, hey, I need to have these things in place in order to, quit. And essentially the main milestone was I need to be making enough money from the cleaning business to substitute my expenses. I don't need to be making a ton of money, but as long as I can pay my bills at my house, I have enough for groceries for my car, like I'll figure out the rest from there. And I had a lot of data. I had like a 3-page PDF built out of like everything I needed, like checkbox in order to be ready to, go full time. And some people are more risk taking and he's like, hey, I see a couple dollars and I'm ready to go full in. But I was like, hey, I need to have like consistent months, month over month. So I know it's just not one, high revenue month. And then I quit my job and then we don't have that anymore. Some recurring revenue had to be in place to make sure we're sticky enough. So yeah, it was a pretty built out system. And once we hit the goal, I was like, sayonara. And now I'm here.
Can you tell us a little bit more like about your business? Is it all residential cleaning?
Gosh, probably 98% residential. We have a couple commercial contracts and we've tried it. It hasn't been for lack of trying. We just haven't really got good traction there.
Yeah.
I just find for us at least, it's been a race to the bottom. A lot of companies we're competing against are charging what we would pay our cleaners. So I'm like, there's no way I can make money here. And so we have a few smaller jobs, but residential has been our bread and butter.
And so with residential, like what is your do you have a typical customer like profile or like who's your typical customer? Have you found somebody particular yet that you guys have found, works really well?
It's nothing super unique. We have a lot of large 55 and older communities out here in Arizona, quite a bit of them. And so we have a lot of people from, single elderly, folks or couples that are retired, a ton of snowbirds. I don't know if that's a common term used everywhere else in the United States, but yeah, we have tons of snowbirds, and usually they leave in the summer, so they're all gone right now and they come back in the fall. So we have a list of like 15 to 20 snowbirds that we're just waiting to come back to get back on the schedule. So that's definitely a huge pocket for us. And then I'd say the other is just pretty common, middle to higher income, families that have, multiple kids, usually maybe like mid 30s, 40s kind of couples that can afford it. And, they just are too busy with soccer practices and kids and the craziness. So those are pretty much our two main profiles. I think single guys are also another weird one. We have a lot of just single bachelors that live by themselves that don't really know how to clean or don't want to clean. And so that's kind of like probably the third rung is a ton of just single guys that, don't want to do it themselves.
Do you know what the average income is in your area? Is it pretty high?
I don't know. We service probably 6 to 8 cities. So it kind of varies. I've done the kind of heat map of where high income areas are, but it's funny, the data doesn't really show the full picture unless you really know these cities. Like one of them, you can do it on Google, like just a heat map of income in these areas. One of our best cities is marked as a red, like lower income, but it's that 55 and older community that they don't have a lot of yearly income coming in, but they have a huge nest egg from retirement that they're just sitting on. Right. So it looks as like a lower income area because they're not generating yearly, a lot of yearly income. But that's kind of like one of those nuanced things that if you didn't live here or didn't know about that city, you probably wouldn't know.
In this business, right, there's like the two parts of it, which is like a hiring and then also the finding clients. Are you finding that one is more difficult than the other?
We actually haven't had any issue with hiring. Now I'm going to knock on wood here, but we've never had like a dry spell where it's like we cannot find good cleaners. Like we usually find them whenever we need them, quite frankly. Finding good cleaners has not been an issue for us. And sure, as we scale and we need double the amount we need now, there's only so many A+ cleaners. And so we might run into that eventually. I'm assuming that much, but finding more customers is always going to be I wouldn't say bottleneck, but like right now I'm like, we have a ton of availability this week and I'm like, we need more customers coming in. We've been scaling every month, which is awesome, but I'm like, we can take on more how do we get more?
I mean, that's always the best spot to be in. I always tell people, like, if you have bad cleaners or like you don't have a great team, like this is like one of the worst businesses to be in.
Yeah, your life will be living hell.
Everything's just a nightmare. People are late or they're not showing up or they're not doing a great job. And it's just, yeah, that's a horrible thing to be in.
Yep.
But if everyone is, professional and showing up and doing a great job, it is a pretty easy business. So I'm glad you're in that position.
Mhm.
Where are you finding most of your cleaners? Are they like Indeed, Facebook?
Yeah, so we started off with Indeed. A lot of people in ConvertLabs, that's in the community at least, that's kind of what they preach. And we found cleaners that are still with us today from Indeed, and good process. But we were having to pay to promote the job application or job posting just
Yeah.
because that's the best way to get applicants. But we started playing around with finding cleaners on like Nextdoor, which is very exactly similar to like Facebook groups. But if you type in on Nextdoor, house cleaning, there's going to be a ton of posts of people looking for a recommendation for a cleaner. And all we do is we go in the
Yeah.
comments and we start, because there'll be 20 to 30 comments in a matter of an hour. So I wouldn't recommend trying to get customers that way. But there's like 20 to 30 cleaners on there that are just like, hey, I run my own small business. Hey, I do work out here. And we just kind of go through that list and see, click on profiles, read messages, kind of get a vibe of that person.
Yeah.
We just create a list, and whenever we need to hire, I go through this list and I'm like, hey, saw you next door. Here's what we do. Here's how it works. And some cleaners are like, you're going to give me a percentage of the job. They don't understand. But some people are like, hey, I have 3 days open in my week that I never have jobs. I would love to make more money and take more jobs from you guys. And you're going to handle all of the hard stuff that I don't want to deal with. I just have to clean.
Yeah.
Sure. I'd say the last 3 or 4 hires we've done have all been through Nextdoor, and that's how we're going to continue to do it because it's free. And instead of having to go through 200 applications where maybe 5 of them have cleaning experience, all of my lists that I create, which is usually about 20 to 50 is when I stop. Every one of those people at least says they're a cleaner and they do cleaning right now. And I kind of vet from there.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I mean, I just used Facebook when I was doing it. And a lot of the times on Facebook, it was people recommending their
Yep.
cleaners. So they already come a little bit pre-vetted, which was great.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
we've done the same where some Susie in one of our cities will say, "Hey, I use so and so," and then I'm just like, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
this person's recommending them." So exactly the same. Whether we do that or it's other people commenting about themselves, we found that it's worked great. And of course, you still have to vet and you still have to do the hiring, and
Yeah.
a lot of those people aren't going to work out. But at least I have a more narrowed niche of people to kind of choose from.
Right. Yeah. And especially on Indeed too, like you're going to get a lot of applicants that have
Mhm.
no experience or probably are looking for a job for a reason.
Yeah.
And then what's your hiring process like after that? Like you reach out to them, they're interested. Do you have a flow after that you're doing?
Yeah, we have to wait to get a response. Once we do, we usually just say, like, hey, are you open to a 10 to 15 minute chat? And from there, we jump on a phone conversation. I'm very, very strict on showing up on time to those.
Mhm.
If somebody's a minute or too late, I'll cancel the interview. I just think if your first impression is
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the desk ready to call you, I have all my notes, I know what I'm going to ask you. If you're not ready or can't answer the phone, it's not going to be a good fit. So I'm very strict on that, and that usually cuts out 30% of them right there is just answering the phone on time. So we do a 15 to 20 minute phone chat. From there, I usually can have a pretty good idea if this person is at least worth continuing with. I have a lot of questions that I ask in there that are specific of like, hey, what would you do in this situation? What's your process for cleaning an oven? I ask them very specific questions that usually you can kind of weed out, like, is this person a professional cleaner or are they just,
Mhm.
cleaning on the side? And if they're cleaning on the side, that's totally fine, but I'm looking for professionals who do this for a living. From there, if it goes well, we set up a test clean at our house. So my wife and I prefer it to be our house. I know some people they want it to be with a cleaner on an actual job, or they want to do it with a friend. I want to meet the person and shake their hand, look them in the eye. I want to see their equipment that they bring into my house. I want to see what kind of car they're driving. If it's a beat up car, like, are we going to have car problems here? Like, you just kind of get those little
Right.
inclinations. And of course, you don't
Yeah.
want to judge somebody fully on the car they show up in, but it's just these little things that I'm checkboxing of like, okay, are these things checked off?
Mhm.
Did they show up on time? Same thing. If they don't show up on time to the test screen, I've canceled multiple test screens when they're on their way to my house and they're not on time. I cancel. I said, it's not going to
Yeah.
work out. From there, that's pretty much the only 2 things we do. From there, we just make a decision. So it's the 15, 20-minute phone call and then the test clean. Usually with those 2 things, we can have a pretty good idea of if this person's going to work out or not. And then of course we do background checks and insurance and that stuff.
And is the test clean? Is that like just a room or something?
Yeah, good question. So we usually just do our kitchen. I just
Yeah.
feel like the kitchen is the most detailed spot where we can get a good idea of things they do. The first testing we ever did, we did the whole house and it just didn't work out great. It can, but we just did either the master bathroom, because I think master bathrooms are important as well, or the kitchen, but usually you can just do the kitchen. And
Yeah.
we say hey, it's just an hour test clean, and we pay them. I think we pay them $30 for their time, which is, if we're going to spend an hour cleaning, we give you $30. We think that's more than fair.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. I mean, I've seen a lot of successful people do like the same thing where just do it like the kitchen or a bathroom because you can gauge a lot
Mhm.
from the quality of a cleaner just by doing that,
Yeah.
right?
Doing it and seeing them in person is important. We've had people that had great, phone call interviews and they sounded amazing. They had the experience and they get there and they don't look professional. Their hair is all crazy. They're wearing a tank top and flip flops. Like those things are, at least to me, those are important. Like, cause these people are going to be the
Yeah.
face of your company. My customers never see me. They might see my picture online, but my whole brand is built around how my cleaners present themselves. Obviously the quality of work they do. If you're
Yeah.
showing up that way and you look not professional and look like you just woke up out of bed, that's just not a good look. So those things are important to us to be able to meet them in person.
Yeah, when I first started my company, like we had so many bookings, like I was just having to hire people off the street pretty much.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes like the first time meeting with them would be like after a cleaning to pay them in person, right? I didn't know what I was doing at the time too. And it was just such a crazy time where, we're just getting like dozens of bookings a day. And like,
Yeah.
it was like total pandemonium. So I would meet them and be like, oh, okay, we can't work together anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first cleaner we ever hired that's still with us today, she's probably one of our best cleaners. We've never met her in person still. We didn't know what we were doing really. So we had her show up to our house and we left. So when she, finished up, she just let us know. And so we've never even met her and been working with her for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
And I talk to her every day,
That's cool.
which is funny. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. Anything else on hiring that you think would be like helpful for people?
People have their own processes. And the only caveat to that is the people on Indeed are actually looking for work. The people on Nextdoor, they might not need work. They kind of have a little bit more of like, it's a weird dynamic. Like the people on the interviews that I do for like on Indeed, they're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I'm going to answer like it's an interview. The people on Nextdoor, it feels like they're trying to interview me because I
Right.
came to them.
Right.
So it feels like they have more leverage in the conversation because they didn't come to me. They're just trying to check it out. So it's a little bit different, a little bit more unique conversation. But I think that's been huge. And I think the only other thing I'd say on hiring is once we started hiring in duos and pairs, or looking for cleaners that had a partner that they work with or a helper or whatever, it made our operations so much more smooth. We still, combine solo cleaners together here and there, but once we got people that either had a helper, a duo, or have a crew, that was insurmountable to like the jobs that we can take, the flexibility in scheduling. It was just so difficult. Of like one time we had to pair 4 solo cleaners together for a huge job. It was a disaster. It was so bad. There's so many issues to go wrong that all 4 cleaners called me afterwards to complain about each of the other one. It was just a disaster. And so you send a crew that, works together for the last 3 years. They have a system. They're boom, boom, boom doing it. So I think in our interview process, we always ask like, hey, do you have a helper or somebody that you work with, a partner? It's not required unless we are needing another pair, but
Right.
it's always helpful. We have solo cleaners, we have duos, but once we got duos or pairs or crews, that was huge for operations. Like that was probably the biggest turning point in terms of how we were looking at, hiring was, focusing on that. And sometimes we need a solo cleaner that does more of our recurring work. And sometimes we need to go hire, another crew or another, pair to do deep cleans, move outs, those sort of things.
I hired this girl, Sarah, and she ended up hiring like her sisters and cousins to work for her. And it was just the most easiest like person I've ever worked with
Yeah.
because she would just handle everything. And she was kind of going back and forth. Sometimes she would drop them off at certain locations, and that made life so much easier for us.
Yeah.
It was great. What's the ratio of like solar cleaners to like people who have somebody that they're working with?
We're probably 50-50 right now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most of our hires now we're bringing on are duos or pairs. We
Yeah.
we get a lot of complaints from customers of like, hey, I'm kind of surprised you sent one person, or usually I've in the past I'm used to 2 people or a crew. And so we get that a lot. And obviously the quality of work is the most important. So if it's a good job, it's a good job. But some people don't want cleaners in their home for 3-4 hours. They just don't. And so that's why we kind of have to play matchmaker with who we're putting on jobs, and then obviously the customers. But it's about 50-50 right now. A couple of them have like really big crews. They run their own operation. They just work for me on the side. And so they'll have up to like 7 or 8 people that they can use. So if we ever have big post-construction jobs, 10,000 square foot move out clean, we just give them a call and be like, hey, is your crew available? And so she's the lead.
Yeah.
We work directly with her. They know very clearly that, hey, if anything goes wrong here, if anything, this is on you. You work directly with us. You're in charge of your crew. I don't know them, which is some people might have their own opinions about using people or crews that, they don't know personally. But I just put it all on the contractor. I'm like, hey, this is your job. I work directly with you. If anything goes wrong or they miss something, you're going back to reclean it. They completely understand that.
Yeah, yeah, I had the same experience too. Like that's the easiest way to go about it. I never had any issues.
Yeah, knock on wood, we haven't either to this
Yeah.
point. And as long as we had to set expectations. At first, we didn't, and they were like, "Oh, that was my partner's mistake." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't
Yeah.
work with your partner. I work with you." So we
Yeah.
had to set those expectations of just like, "Hey, if you're going to use a helper, you are solely responsible for this job's success or the quality of this job." That's pretty much what we had to do very, very quickly
Yeah.
afterwards.
We talked about hiring quite a bit. When it comes to like finding customers right now, like what's like not working for you? Have you tried certain channels that are just like not working in your area at all?
I've tried everything. As a side note, I think it's important to try everything, especially when you're
Yeah.
in your first couple years. We used Yelp early on and we had a lot of success with it. We don't use it anymore, but people talk so horribly about Yelp. And I'm like, I have the data to show it worked for us. And so everything works differently. I have a buddy that works 5 towns away from me. He does Thumbtack and I've tried it and it doesn't work for me, but it's for some reason, his whole business is around Thumbtack. But right now, what we're doing is LSA, so local service ads, and then just SEO, organic traffic. Those are our only 2 ways we're getting customers right now. And of course, like, repeat customers, referrals, retargeting your current
Mhm.
customer base, those kind of things. But in terms of generating new leads, we have 2 Google business profiles and about 20 miles away from each other. So it's in our same service area, but we just got another Google business profile because we wanted to rank in that area. So that helped us a lot with organic. We tried Facebook ads recently. I worked with an
Uh-huh.
agency and they killed it in terms of generating the leads. Like they got a ton of leads, low cost per lead. It was great. They had getting tons of impressions, tons of lead form submissions, but we didn't have a process on the back end to automate it in terms of like follow-ups. And like I had like 30 leads in a matter of like a couple of days at one point, and I was trying to, what follow-up is this guy on? Does this person need a follow-up? It was just became so much. I had like 30 customers pinned on my quo. We just didn't have the system in the back end to have that automated to where if somebody responds, we'll step in and we'll do it. But it needed to be an automated like follow-up process of like, hey, they submit a form, message goes out, and it's going to follow up with them every day for 2 weeks or whatever the follow-up cadence is. So I believe Facebook ads will work. We just need to have a better system in the back end to be able to take on that load, which doing it manually didn't work.
Yeah.
We still got good ROI on it, but it was just mentally, I was like, this is just too much.
Yeah.
So we paused it until we can get that in place. So that's probably the only thing I would say that like quote unquote didn't work for us recently, but I believe it will. We just have to get better systems in place.
And then when it comes to like, you mentioned organic and SEO, what are you doing there? Did you hire an agency or are you doing it on your own?
Yeah. So from day one, pretty much how we started our business was with my best friend runs an agency for local service businesses. So like landscaping companies. He's done some work with quite a few of the people in the ConvertLabs community as well, just from my connection. So he does all of our SEO from day one. He does all of our created our website, does our website maintenance. He does all of our Google business profile stuff. Probably a lot more stuff that I don't know, but in both of our 2 cities that we have Google business profiles in, we're ranked number one for both of them. So he's done a killer job. I don't know all the details, but that's why I hired him because I don't want to spend my time doing SEO. Of course, could we save money? Sure. But the ROI that we pay him on a monthly basis in terms of what's brought in organically, it's been well worth it. But we started with him since day one. He's my best friend. He's my best man at my wedding.
Cool.
Easy to communicate with him. And I talk to him every day. And he's really been more of like a growth partner rather than just like an SEO guy. Like he's helped us, optimize our just a ton of stuff. I don't need to go into all the details, but he's been
Yeah.
instrumental. And so we pay him a monthly fee. And since day one, obviously in the beginning, that meant we were losing money, but we knew that if we can get started with SEO early, by this time, it's going to be a snowball. So we were just willing to kind of take that short-term pain.
That's awesome. SEO is like always one of the things where I was never really good at it personally.
Same.
Like, and it always feels like you don't know what you're doing because you don't see that like instant
Mhm.
result coming in. But yeah, that's great that you have a friend that does that. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
He's starting his own SEO for roofing companies now. Like he's targeting like specific niches now, but he's done a ton of stuff with some people in the ConvertLabs community as well. And everyone's loved working with him. So it's been cool to see like how that connection or network has helped other people in the community. So he's been huge. I don't think we'd be where we're at without him right now.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, send me his info after. I'd love
Yeah.
to have him on and pick his brain a little
Oh,
bit.
he would love that. Yeah.
So you're getting most of your people from, LSA, organic. What about like operations? Is there anything you're finding when it comes to like operations that maybe you need to fine tune, or like how is that going with like the day-to-day stuff?
It's funny you asked that. That's been probably our biggest focus lately is we're in the stage of, okay, do we need a VA right now? The operations part has been the biggest bottleneck for me just in my personal life. When I'm at church with my family, or I'm at a pool party with some friends or something,
Mhm.
and I'm getting calls and a cleaner can't get into this house and I got to call the customer. That part is really starting to play a toll on me mentally, of just feeling
Yeah.
like I'm like chained to my phone, like at all. Like I'm at the grocery store and I'm getting a call. I'm like, thank God I have my wife. So my wife and I run the company together. So I at least have another option if somebody can answer the phone. Like, thank the Lord. But
Yeah.
especially when you're getting charged for these LSA calls, if you don't pick up, like, boom, there's $50 gone, or whatever your cost per lead is. That's our biggest focus right now, is at what point do we need to hire a VA? A lot of people would argue like now, but I also think I can just continue to grow this business. We can have our good margins and I can get it to a certain point. For us, the 50K mark is kind of 50K a month mark is kind of what we're targeting for. Okay, let's get a VA at that point and start growing an actual business rather than making my job. Because right now I just have a job essentially,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
fine. I love it. I work maybe half the amount of time I was at my full time job. I'm making more money. So it's a great job, but it is a job still. And I want to get it to a point where this is a business and I can go on vacation with my wife for 3 days and I don't have to check my phone every 3 seconds. So I don't think there's anything specific in our operations that we need to fine tune. It's more so just like delegation. How do we get this to be a structured business to where it can actually scale? Because Mark Zuckerberg isn't writing code for Facebook anymore, for Meta. So like, I
Right.
try to think like
Right.
that. And obviously, I'm not going to get to that scale, but I try to
Yeah.
think like that of like, at some point, I need to start hiring people that can do some of these things for me. So that's kind of where we're at.
I really like what you're doing though. Like this whole conversation, I've been thinking about how you're just taking like extreme ownership of everything. With the test cleans, like they just come to your house
Mhm.
and you do it, because so many people like to put off so much stuff. And a mistake that I see a lot of people make is they'll hire a VA very quickly or like immediately because they don't want to take phone calls. They don't want to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And like there's so much about the business that you just don't learn by not running operations, hiring, sales, everything yourself.
I mean, there's situations I run into every day where I'm like, I don't know how I would teach a VA what to do in the situation, because I've never run into a customer claiming we stole something from their house. And I never dealt with that. I run into situations still. And I found that out. I just put together like a master SOP document for like to get a VA in place. So I'm just kind of documenting every part of our business. And as I was going through it, I was like, what do I do here? Like I kind of just go off of vibes. Like, and I'm like, I need to, I can't have vibes. I need to have, what do we do here? A, B, C, D. What's the,
Yeah.
what's that process look like? So it was an interesting process for me to go through. It's about a 70-page document of just all these situations that I run into. How do I handle them? But I've condensed it down a bit to make it more readable and understandable for somebody coming in. But I was just wanting to get everything I do on paper. A lot of these sections, I was like, what do I do here? And so it's
Yeah.
interesting when you're talking about of getting a VA too early. I'm almost 2 years in, and there's still situations that I run into that I don't know how to handle. So I couldn't imagine trying to train somebody without going through all the stuff that I did. But teach their own. I've seen people get VAs at 5,000, in monthly revenue, and they do fine. So
Yeah, that SOP document is super important. It was so helpful when we were bringing on new VAs.
Mhm.
They can just refer to that. And then I also let them modify the document as necessary,
Oh, nice.
right? So things had to evolve, like we would have to change, that document. And it was like a living, breathing thing, but it was super, super helpful for us. Like I can't imagine hiring a VA without one of
Oh,
those.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you're all like your steps ahead for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just put it into a custom GPT. So now you can just refer to the GPT and just ask it any question based off of
Nice.
what's in the
Yeah.
document. So, and like you said, it's going to be changing. I'm creating videos now, but a lot of the training will happen on, calls like this with the VA. I'm assuming I haven't got there yet, but just
Yeah.
trying to get everything in place. So when I need a VA, boom, I'm ready to go. I have the onboarding set up. I have everything. That's kind of what I've been working on right now.
You got to set them up for success. And I think a lot of people that fail with VAs, they just you
Throw them
think,
in there.
they're going to hire them and that's it. They're going to solve all their issues. And it's like, no, you're
Yeah.
just setting them up to fail.
Exactly. And I'm scared to bring on a VA because like every entrepreneur, I want to do everything myself. And I think nobody can do it exactly how I do it. But that's why I'm I'm trying to be so detailed in this process. Cause I'm like, if I'm bringing somebody on, they better know what they're doing and they better have every resource they need at their fingertips to, help them succeed. Exactly what you're saying.
I think the truth is that nobody's going to do as good of a job as you are. And a lot of people that I've talked to that have like done well with VAs, the consensus is basically like, you're going to take a little hit in your efficiency of everything. But the trade-off is that you get so much free time. It's like the only way to continue to grow this business, right?
Yeah.
Is to do that. But can I ask you about pricing real quick? Because I know a lot of people get stuck on that. And I'm just curious, like, has your pricing evolved? How do you structure things? Obviously, you're not going to like people's houses and doing quotes like a
Yeah.
lot of other, cleaners do. So
just like normal, just like residential pricing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, our pricing has changed. I think I just updated some things like a couple days ago on the pricing. It has been
Uh-huh.
constantly changing based on what we're hearing from customers, close rates. We want to make it data informed. If our close rates are dropping because we increase prices, maybe we need to, revert back or something like that. But primarily based on, pretty much the basics: bedrooms, bathrooms, and the square footage. What I would like to do at some point is have it more heavily weighted to the square footage of the home. Right now, our pricing is more weighted towards the bedrooms and bathrooms, bedrooms primarily. But the other day, I ran into a 4 bed, 4 bath, like 4,000 square foot home. And so my pricing just wasn't set up correctly for that. So I had to go in and change specifically for like the deep cleans and move outs. I had to change those for when it's higher square footage. I almost refer to it like an algorithm of like how, because there's like 90 different variables or something like that of how pricing can change. That part was definitely the thing we had to tweak and update the most. And a lot of it was just going through competitor stuff. I had like probably 5 or 6 competitors, just tabs that had their pricing online. And I would just constantly, like, whenever I got a call and I'm like, what would somebody else charge for that? Constantly just looking at whatever the other people were charging. And slowly it was like, okay, I'm finding that my 4 bedroom cleans are way too high on move outs compared to all my competitors. Let me go update that. So it was just constantly looking at what other people are doing. You don't want to be mid market or you want to be higher, like that's your decision. But I just want to make sure that my pricing isn't way lower on 3 bed, 2 bath move out cleans. So I think each one you kind of have to just test and tweak. And sometimes I update just one little thing of like, hey, my move out cleans on 2 bed, 2 baths is way overpriced every time. So then I go update that. So it's never like this one big change. It's always tweaking based off of, or like, hey, I just realized I have no 4 bed homes that are on biweekly. Why is that? And then I go look, and my pricing is way messed up for that kind of segment of homes. So then I had to go change that. So I think it was just constantly updating. Like I said, I just updated it again the other day for like those big square foot homes that have not as many bedrooms, those more unique houses. So it's just constantly updating things. But that's all done in ConvertLabs. It's pretty easy to do.
So yeah, I mean, speaking of ConvertLabs, like, are you using other pieces of technology that like kind of run day to day? What does your tech stack look like?
ConvertLabs is our holy grail. Like everything, like we wouldn't have this business without ConvertLabs. And I talk to people all the time who are using like Booking Koala or Java. I'm like, you guys got to look into ConvertLabs. Like it is so niche to what we're doing in this cleaning business. It's like I'm a big advocate of ConvertLabs. ConvertLabs is how obviously we run 70% of our business. Obviously, we were connected with Stripe through that. QuickBooks is for accounting, which I do all myself. Quo is probably the only other big one. Quo and ConvertLabs are, if we just had those two, we can run this business. Quo is our
Yeah.
messaging app of how we message cleaners, customers. When somebody calls us, it goes to our Quo or open phone number. I've gotten more into like automations, similar softwares to like Zapier, but a little bit just different. It's called Relay app, where I'm using that to connect a lot of my different software pieces, automate some manual things that I'm doing. Besides that, Notion I use for my SOPs to have everything documented, Claude, ChatGPT, those kind of things. But ConvertLabs, Quo, which is was formerly OpenPhone, without those two, we wouldn't have a business. I think the biggest thing I was looking at the other day of when looking at our revenue numbers over the cross the last 18 months is we never had any like breakout months of just like boom, we jumped up 20K or we jumped up 15K. And I think that's what people kind of expect of like, hey, I'm at 3K, I'm at 5K, like where's that big momentum jump? And some people hit those. Some people I know are going 10K, 15K, 20K each month, and that's awesome. But I've looked at our metrics and we only kind of grew like 2 to 5,000 in revenue, top or bottom line, every single month, or top line, I should say, which was fine with us because we wanted to make sure we're not growing too fast where we don't know how to handle it or we run into hiring issues. We've never had a time where we've been overcapacitated, couldn't take on, customers, or we need new cleaners tomorrow. We kind of just have just perfectly scaled and we're growing at like a very reasonable pace, which of course, if I could jump 20K this month, let's go, let's do it. But I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out later. But I think
Yeah.
it's been healthy the way we've been growing because we've been able to slowly implement and change new things and see how things work. And our growth has just been steady. So right now at 18 months in, we just did 43K last month in revenue.
Nice.
I think we're at 32% profit margin, which as long as I can stay in the 30s, I'm more than happy. It's funny. I was talking to Vic the other day. I'm less stressed and I have less work to do now than when I was at 20K in revenue a month, which is so funny. And she refers to it as I'm in the boring stage. There's
Right.
different
Right.
stages of revenue, which I fully agree with. Every time she explains it, I'm like, it couldn't be
Yeah.
more accurate. And it's funny. I find a lot of days I'm trying to find something to work on. And Vic's advice would always be go do something else or have your free time. But I love working. And when I
Mhm.
don't have something to be productive with, I feel like I'm going crazy or I feel like I'm so lazy and everyone else is at work right now and I'm doing nothing. So I enjoy finding things to work, but what a blessing to have the ability to
Yeah.
not have anything to do. And I'm trying to figure out work for myself because I enjoy it. I'm at an interesting spot with my wife to where we're trying to figure out where do we want to go with the business? Because we'll probably do our first year in total revenue, we did 136,000 on total revenue. Year two, which is this year, we're forecasted to do probably 400,000 in revenue, which that jump I'm really happy with.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
our goal has always been since day one, 50K a month in revenue is our goal. 50 to 60K is kind of where we want to be sitting in. And at that
Mhm.
point, we'd probably just try to optimize to get more recurring because right now our biggest bottleneck is our recurring is low compared to where we're at in revenue wise. We're doing a lot of one-time jobs and I don't want that. It's more at risk to get complaints. It's been great for reviews. We've been cooking on reviews, but at some point we need to have a more firm business, and to do that we need more recurring revenue. So once we get to 50 or 60K a month in revenue, that's when we're really going to need to dial that in. And who cares about one time? We just need recurring. That's all that matters, and that's all that matters now. And we should be focusing on that. But that's just kind of where my thought process is. But after that, we really don't know where we want to take the business. I've seen what happens to people once they get to like the 75K a month and above. Like it seems like things just get crazy and their whole world is just revolved around like chaos in the business. And I don't know, things are pretty smooth right now at 40K for me. And
Yeah.
again, knock on wood, something can always happen and things will probably happen. But we're going to have a real conversation once we get to that revenue level, 50 to 60K a month, and just be like, do we want to get this to 100K a month? Do we want to just open another location somewhere else? What do we want to do? Do we want to just automate and fully delegate and, take less margin, but we're not working on it that much? Like that's the conversation that we're preparing to have, which again, God bless that we're even thinking about being able to be in that position. We don't have a 3-year plan. We don't have a whatever. We're just 50K and we'll figure it out. I don't know if that adds much specifics in there, but that's just kind of where our headspace is at. But what we're doing bottom line right now and net margins has been huge. So we're thinking about when my wife can maybe quit her job, which is a huge blessing. I like the spot we're in, but just try not to get too comfortable because, like I said, two best cleaners could quit tomorrow and then you're scrambling and you never know what can happen. So I'm not too,
Yeah.
I'm not arrogant enough or ignorant enough, whatever the word is, to think that we're just sitting pretty right now. There's still work to be done,
Yeah.
but the trajectory has been smooth and we're tracking everything. Forecasts are on pace. So things are going well right now.
Yeah. Well, I know quite a few people that are doing, 100, 200 plus K a month, and their lives are pretty good. There's not
Uh,
there's not a lot of chaos. I think you have to remove yourself quite a bit to
mhm.
like stay sane.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
everybody I know from on Twitter. There's a huge community of cleaning company guys on Twitter. And I've met so many cool people there. And every one of them is the same thing. It's like this is that weird middle spot of like 60 or 70 to like 100, where it's like you're still trying to figure things out. It's just chaos. And then it seems like after that hump, if you can do it correctly and delegate, automate some things, all of a sudden you're kind of just coasting from there. Or not coasting, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's different stages. And I think that 70 to 100 one is going to be a tough one.
But yeah, I mean, why not just do it?
I don't know.
You know?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't want to be content, but I'm so grateful to be in the spot right now, just doing 42K a
Yeah.
month, the money we're bringing in. So like at 60K a month, like I don't want to say I'm just going to be content and, go live on a beach somewhere, but I don't know. We'll have to rethink like what's our priorities. Is it just make more money? Do we start something different? Something, my wife's more passionate about? I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out. And I think a lot of that has to do with who you are as a person and your personal goals. My goal is never to be a 100 millionaire and have buckets of money and yachts. Like that's never been my goal. It's been fun thought process to be able to be in a position to be thinking about like what do we want to do when we have more money than what we're doing now, which we're okay right now. So what do we want to do at that point? A
Yeah.
lot of unanswered questions. Maybe a part 2 podcast in a year, and we'll see where things are at.
You mentioned Google reviews, and I forgot to kind of go over this earlier. Like, do you have a process for trying to get more reviews?
Yeah. So right now, across both of our Google business profiles, we're at about like 410 reviews.
Wow,
We
that's awesome.
we've just been so hardcore on reviews to the point to where like we don't even ask about the recurring service after a one-time clean,
Yeah.
which to our downfall, that's been a mistake. But since day one, we were just like, we thought about review, me and my wife, we just were like, hey, every review is more dollars. If we can get 10 reviews, that's going to equal X more dollars. We just thought about it in that light. That's how we've seen it work. The more reviews we get, the more money we make. In terms of our process, I just text right afterwards, hey, how'd the clean go? Just checking in. If it went well, immediately send them the review link. I have 4 follow-ups that I do within 7 days. So the first one, obviously, right after the clean. The second one's 24 hours later. And this is my favorite one. I always just say like, hey, sorry, Sharon. I think the link I sent you yesterday was broken. A couple people mentioned issues with it. Sending it again here just in case. It's such a easy nudge to where it's not annoying. It's like, hey, I think I made a mistake. I'm just going to send it here again. Most of the time, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, sorry, I totally forgot. And they'll do it then. And then another one 48 hours later, and another one about 7 days from the first ask. So we ask 4 times in 7 days, and we do it all manual. I know a lot of people that use review automations and stuff, and I don't know, our manual approach, I'm willing to do some things manual if it means getting great
Yeah.
results. And we're averaging about 23 or 24 new reviews a month, a little bit under a review a day, which if we can just keep doing that, there's nothing special. It's just manual, 4 times follow up in a week. And obviously, have good cleaners that do good work, of course.
For those people that are, maybe watching this that are like thinking about starting, a cleaning company, do you have any advice for them, or what would you say to yourself from 18 months ago, I guess?
I would say find this community sooner than I did. Rohan's Reddit thread is kind of what got me connected here, but I didn't find that till like 5 or 6 months in, I think. And boy, we were doing so many things wrong. We were paying our contractors a guaranteed weekly salary, no matter how much they worked, things that are so ludicrous. I don't know what we were doing. And we didn't even understand the contractor model. We had no clue. And so it wasn't until we got connected in this ConvertLabs community, I started asking questions. The only other thing that I'd say that it's so cliche is just jump in, just start, just form your LLC tonight and just figure it out. We've been in business for 18 months, like taking jobs, but we were probably doing stuff for like 4 months before that, like planning and website design and a strategy. And it was just like, we could have just started and we would have just started, we would have saved 4 months and we would have just figured it out as we went along. And I know everyone says that, just jump in and figure it out. But yeah, I think we wasted 4 months of revenue generating opportunities. I think we'd be a lot farther ahead if we because it was easy to just be in the planning period. It's so comfortable there, focusing on color fonts and brand and logo. It's so comfortable and it's fun. It's like, oh, this is so awesome. You're not making any money. What are you doing? And so I wish
Yeah.
somebody would have told me that, like all those meetings we set, me and my wife, of spending hours doing that, stupid stuff that doesn't even matter. Yeah, I would just say just jump right in and find a community like ConvertLabs. If we didn't have this community, gosh, we would have been chickens with their head cut off running around. So whether it's ConvertLabs or a different community, find a community of people that know what they're doing and ask a million questions, and then give back after that. Then you help other people, and by helping other people, you start to learn yourself. So I just think having a community is huge. That's why I was so grateful for the ConvertLabs one, and Jen and Vic and all the people that answered all my dumb questions a million times every day. So that'd be my biggest advice: find a community.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, and today, there's just so much content out there. Like when I started, it was just Rohan's thread, and like that was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of people, online talking about the contractor model or anything like that.
Finding a community and sticking to one. If there's, like you just said, there's so much content. Everyone's talking about different things, different opinions, and you can get so lost and then you don't do anything because you're so confused. And that's what we were. We were watching every YouTube video under the sun about cleaning companies, and everyone had a different strategy. Find a community of one that works and just stick with it and just write it out. And if it doesn't work after 6 months, find something else.
I have friends, obviously, in this community who are doing literally millions of dollars a year in cleaning, and they swear by the employee model. They will go on and on and on about how employees are the only way to run, this type of business. And then I'll also have friends also doing millions of dollars a year who swear by contractors.
I've seen them
and
both
they
too.
think
Yeah.
there's no way else that you could do it other than contractors, right? They have philosophies about all this stuff, right? And yeah, I think at the end of the day, a lot of it has to do with like, what's your personality type? Especially when it comes to like employees versus contractors. Like, do you really want to get into the nitty gritty and like have a training program and all of that, or not, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think you don't know what you don't know. So like you have to follow something in the beginning.
Yeah.
And for us, that was, what Jen and Vic were preaching, their YouTube channel or your guys' YouTube channel. And then of course, after a while, it's like, I actually don't really like that process. I'm going to kind of make it my own here. And you just start to kind of like weave in your own personality and your own way of how you structure things in your brain and how you process things. And then you kind of have this like makeshift version of what you learn, but it's also made for you. And that's what we've done with everything we've learned from Jen and Vic in this community. There are certain things that we don't do that Jen and Vic would say like, hey, you got to do this way. And we just kind of figured it out on our own. We're like, hey, we kind of like this way. And it works. And I think if you stick to something so hard, it's not going to be you. It's not going to be how you want to run the business. So you got to just stick with something, learn. And then as you go, you can tweak, make your own changes, add in your own personality, etc. But yeah, couldn't agree more with that.
And there's lots of other variables as well, like the community you're in, the demographics. Things have to be run a little bit differently in different places for sure.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Cool. Well, thanks, Luke. Anything else you'd like to add for our conversation before we wrap things up?
besides use ConvertLabs and get connected in the community, that's all I would say. I tell people about
Yeah,
ConvertLabs everywhere I go, and
I appreciate that.
it's
Yeah,
more of a niche platform. And I'm just like, if you want something that's specifically tailored for this cleaning business, what are you doing?
yeah,
Why are you using Jobber when that's built for something you don't need 90% of that stuff? I just think this platform is so easy. The support team, by the way, I'm not sponsored by ConvertLabs, but the support team has been huge. Like, you guys have built out custom things for me that I was struggling with, or Isabel.
Isabel. Yeah,
Yeah, she gets back to me whenever I have a question, and she's probably like, "Oh, this Luke guy is here again. What does he want?" But the support team has been huge. I know people that complain about booking call all the time. That takes them days to get something, and they end up having to go search on a forum somewhere and figure it out themselves. So
yeah.
that's been huge for us, is just your guys' support team, and how you guys are so flexible with listening to the community and building things out that actually we use and we want to use. So that's been huge. So again, not sponsored by ConvertLabs, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I always tell everybody, if there's anything that you think that we can improve on or any feature requests, definitely send them our way because we're really trying to build something that operators are using every day,
Yep.
right? And so there's a lot of fine tuning that we want to do to just make it kind of a joy to use, right? Instead of like this clunky piece of software, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, now I've been playing around with the API stuff that you guys kind of release,
yeah.
and working on some automations, and that's been super helpful for just my own, reporting and tracking stuff. So that was awesome.
Well, Luke, thank you so much for your time, man. This was a really great conversation. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me, and looking forward to what comes next in ConvertLabs.
All right. Cool, man. Thank you so
All
much.
right, thanks, Kevin.